Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm working on modulating my voice. I feel like I get on here sometimes and I scream at people, and that feels unwelcoming. So, good morning. Hello, Dr. Mary.
Hello, Lola. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. We are delighted. It's Guest Thursday again, because Thursday comes around every week. And this week we are welcoming our good friend Tristan Cartony, who we know through the Arts Partnership, actually, because Tristan is, in addition to many, many other things, a fabulous art supporter. So welcome, Tristan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to be here. Nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you since before the pandemic started. Not in person, at least.
Well, because who's seeing anybody?
Yeah, who's seeing anybody? Yeah.
So I just have to go back and sort of reenact when Tristan first got on Zoom for you all, because it was a remarkable moment for me. Let's just make it about me for a minute. So Maz is the only other person that I have known before sobriety and after of all the guests that we have talked to. And if you've seen pictures of pre-Maz and post-Maz, you know that he went from like looking kind of blobby, and I like to say he looked like a waterbed, to this. And when Tristan popped on today, because I haven't seen Tristan through the pandemic, I lost my ability to modulate my voice, and I absolutely screamed at you, Tristan, because you look so
You do.
fabulous.
You look fantastic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I mean, if there's ever been a reason to get sober above and beyond the fact that if you don't, it could kill you,
Right.
the physical transformation of you two men from pre-sober to post is just a glorious thing to see.
Yeah, and it's the health wise, it's true. I did the calculations. I was consuming about 2,000 calories of alcohol a night. So wow. 2,000 calories, that was just what I was ingesting and empty calories, whatnot. So obviously you're not eating a very nutritious diet. So I had weight gain, puffiness. But the flip side of it too is, your mental health is so bad that I just stopped taking care of myself. And I kind of had fun with the beard, and I had long hair. Like if you were to hop on my Facebook, you would see pictures of me. I was definitely physically puffy, physically overweight. And so what I did is if I'm overweight, I just wear baggy clothes. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? Baggy clothes hides that. People can't tell I'm overweight. If I have the long beard, people can't see my face. The amount of shame that I had for myself, it's almost a cliche that it took an outward presentation of, hey, I find myself gross, I'm going to look gross. And as I've gotten better, I mean, just cutting out drinking, 2,000 calories is a pound a day, right? Cut that out, and the weight just kind of melted off. Wearing shirts that fit me, getting new glasses so that they look, well, my last one's probably okay, but
you never looked bad to me, Tristan, because I only knew you that way. And because just to be totally stereotypical, you work in computer science.
Yeah.
So, a lot of computer science guys kind of look like computer science guys.
That's a fair point. It's my job helped me help my alcoholism along, because certain demands like that I could be more relaxed or not caring about my outward appearance, and people were like, well, he's a nerd, he's a computer science, he just works at his desk all day. I could sleep in, come into work at different odd hours, things like that. It certainly is an environment that that I was able to avoid consequences at my job from that. So,
well, like Maz, you're incredibly bright. So even with the fog of alcoholism, you were able to maintain the bare minimum or more for a really long time, because I think I have often thought, and it's interesting, a lot of the people we've talked to are also very, very bright people. I think that is a really interesting distinction between the way we think of alcoholics and the way that Hollywood depicts them as kind of being homeless, wastrels on the street, and you very high functioning addicts who keep excellent jobs, who get good performance marks, who continue to function in many, many ways. I think it's because you're so smart that even kind of dulled down, you're still smarter than the average person, so you can continue on. It's really remarkable.
And it's the interesting part of that is, the alcoholic will, the lies that you start to tell to shield your alcoholism. My drinking was the most important thing to me. And it's a weird thing to say, but it literally was the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning, and I planned my entire day around it. And things in my life that would get in the way of that, friends and family events, going out to do things, I would find excuses for not doing them because they got in the way. I would have to shift my alcohol drinking time around it. Different people have different experiences with their use. For me, it was my evenings. I get home from work and I start drinking until I would, literally pass out and wake up the next morning. That's how my days were. And so I think having some of that intelligence, or intelligence might not be the right word, interpersonal awareness. I knew how to say things that people would find acceptable. For me, social anxiety was a big one. Social anxiety is true. Everyone feels a little bit of that stress, but I'd be like, oh, I'm just so socially wiped out from the day. I need to stay home and just recover. And everyone was like, yeah, it makes sense to me. You're a computer guy. Of course you're not going to want to hang out. And so over the years, then it becomes easier and easier to do that.
That's so interesting, Tristan, because that's absolutely what I know of you.
Yeah.
That you're an introvert, that you're a little bit socially awkward. And so if you didn't come to an event at the Arts Partnership, I never thought anything of it. I just thought, well, he doesn't want to be around all these people because he's not super comfortable in front of people. I often wonder how it never dawned on me, actually, that Maz was an alcoholic. Even though I knew he was drinking, I never equated, Maz, you're drinking too much, with Maz, you might be an alcoholic. And I never, ever thought it about you either, Tristan. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a while I didn't make that connection myself. If it was just total denial or something, but.
Did you know you had a drinking problem, Tristan?
Yeah. So that's one of the interesting things, because Maz and I talked. Maz was the blog you guys did way back when. I can't remember when it was.
February, or 45 years ago. Yes.
February.
10 months ago.
I don't think was it this year.
Yeah, this year, but February is important. That's my sobriety date. So February 18th. And I think shortly after that, I'd seen the blog post come out. Finally got the courage to kind of reach out to you. Actually through Dana for, hey, Maz, mind if I talked? But it was interesting because I think you were the first person that I talked to as an alcoholic. And so you kind of hear these different patterns that people have, and different, I've since been in lots of therapy and group sessions and AA, and different environments where I've heard a lot more stories. But the number of people who just didn't realize they were an alcoholic was fascinated me, because 10 years ago when I started down this path, I knew I had a problem. I found myself drinking more and more, not a terrible amount at that point, but I knew it was weird that I couldn't stop. I'm like, a weekend would go by and I'd be kind of anxious about not being able to drink. It wasn't all consuming yet. But the fascinating thing was, I was like, I know what alcoholism is. It's a disease. Something is wrong with, something is going on in my brain. I better get this fixed. And so I actually talked and reached out to my doctor, super caring guy. But it just, I didn't, one thing or another happened, and I just didn't get the help that I had to have at that point in time. And I felt like I fell through the cracks. Some of that was me. I gave up at a certain point and stopped going to therapy the therapist I had was not an addiction specialist. He was an anxiety specialist. And so I was like, well, it's not working. I guess I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to have to drink. And that's kind of how there was that tipping point. And over the course of the next 10 years, I look back on that and go, if only I'd gotten help at that point in time, how things have worked out differently.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I definitely, I definitely knew that I was an alcoholic. It was not, the shame is still there. You know, it's not like I was like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, it happens to everyone. The shame becomes very deep and embedded. And that's the other aspect that I think is hard for people to understand is, you know, that it becomes so deep that, I mean, you begin to hate yourself. The hatred that I had for myself. The story I tell to try to help people understand is when I was going through therapy after getting sober, you have to do a, what's it called? Something affirmation or something. You need to say something nice about yourself. And the thing I picked was, I'm a good person, right? So most people I think could say, I'm a good person. And I can't tell you how much anxiety that caused because it felt like a lie. It's like me just saying, I'm a good person was, my brain was revolting against that notion that there's anything good about me, anything redeeming. But that's just because of the self-hatred and the shame. Yeah.
Wow. And you know what is interesting, Tristan, because I know you through a mutual friend of ours, is that I know that she and her partner and I would have like, all right, for 10 minutes, we're all just going to say the best stuff about Tristan. And we could go for 10 minutes and the 10 minutes would fly by.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful to hear someone say that their inner perception and the way that they are perceived outside of themselves can exist simultaneously and be so diametrically opposite. And, you know, so often I think that someone will say something on the other side of the screen, or Maz will say something and I'll think, well, I feel that way. You know, I mean, I don't wake up every day and think, God, I'm Dana Del Val. I have plenty of days where I wake up and think, oh, you know, but on the whole, I can find more good than bad. And so it's just so amazing that somewhere between my more good than bad and your at the bottom, way more bad than good, we're all trying to navigate through this world. And because we keep it all to ourselves, it exacerbates for some of you and turns into this thing, which then does make it more bad than good and feeds what you believe to be true of yourselves. It's just so heartbreaking. And I so appreciate you telling us that, because all of these moments, I think, help those of us who don't have an addiction struggle just have a little more empathy or understanding for what got you started and how you ended up where you did. It's so important to just be able to have that human connection. So thank you for sharing that. And it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Who cares how I feel? It's not really about me, but
no, but it's an interesting point because you know, I struggled with that. And like, I should be able to say I'm a good person. It's not a profound statement to say that, and the realization that I couldn't even say that much. But you do this thing where you just repeat. I'm going to say the same thing every single day, and you repeat it, and that stuff does work. People should absolutely try that as a tool for getting over some of these things. But the critical part of it, the light bulb that went off was my friends. Because I love my friends, a great set of people that I think are just wonderful people. And I think it was kind of an odd way of doing it, but it was at one point I went, wait, I have a ton of respect for these people, and they seem to like me, so I can't be all bad. And it was weird. There was that small little moment, and it's from there, like now I say, and it's something I do believe in, truly, it's not something I'm faking, right? The fake it till you make it, or whatever that notion is. Now it took a while. It took a long time before I started to accept some of the shame was not founded in reality. So,
You know what I think is really beautiful though, in case people missed this, Tristan's only been sober since February. So maybe it feels like a long time to you, but that's really only 10 months. If you are someone who's struggling with something, whether it's addiction or anything else, 10 months is actually not that long a time to go from I have nothing to offer to no, I'm a good person. That's an amazing transformation. I mean, that's basically a pregnancy. So you gestated a whole new person, Tristan, and birthed someone who has value and finds it in himself.
That's a fantastic way of looking at that, actually.
Well, it's just, I think that, you know, I imagine if you're in the middle of something and someone says, well, I've been sober for almost 4 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever. It's easy to say, oh, I can't even imagine that. But we're talking months for you. This is very, very new. And the fact that you were willing to come on and talk about it in such a new way is so inspiring to me, but also just should give people hope that this is, you can do this work and you can achieve it in a very realistic amount of time.
and it's
Through a pandemic.
through a
No
pandemic.
less.
Yes.
I mean, if there's ever been a time where maybe it would be easy to just hunker down in your house and drink, it would be during a
Well,
pandemic.
it was one of the first things, you know, we got to like April, you know, MSUM had closed after Thanksgiving and we were
After Easter or spring break.
And we weren't going back. And I just sat there and I thought, okay, let's put this online. We can do this. It's easy. You know, it's good. I just sat down and thought about it. Yeah, I can do this. And then it suddenly dawned on me. I thought, one, I don't think I could have worked that out if I was not sober. And two, the second thing that went through my head was, thank God I'm sober during a lockdown.
Right.
And I don't really think, oh my God, I need to go and get a drink. And then I spent months thinking about why, when they said only essential shops will be open and all the liquor stores were open. Why?
And I will tell you as the spouse, thank goodness they're open. Because, I mean, if Maz had gone through withdrawal at home because the liquor stores were closed, this is not an overstatement. I think he would have killed me. Not that he was ever violent, ever in his life, but in that 6-hour period in the hospital where he went from fine to in a medically induced coma, he was incredibly violent. So I think he would have killed me. And B, I wouldn't have known what to do. I mean, there are people going through alcoholism at home with families and children. Thank goodness the liquor store stayed open. I'm sorry if you have someone in your house who's drinking and that it has made it worse. But I think having them cut off at home would have been terrifying for many, many households.
Yeah, I mean, cutting off the alcohol cold turkey, some people can survive it, but some people can't, especially long-term.
Absolutely.
Long-term drinkers.
It can actually kill people. I mean,
Yes, it can kill the addict too.
Yeah.
Tristan, feel free to say, I don't want to talk about this. So I'm sorry I didn't ask you this beforehand, but I know that you had, you kind of had a hard time finding a place that could take you when you decided, all right, I'm ready to get some help. You sure don't need to name any places, but can you just talk about sort of the tenacity that it took on top of deciding to stop drinking just to even get into a space that could help you?
Yeah, that's it's kind of an interesting story, and at the time I didn't realize it was being tenacious. So for me, again, in a similar way with the pandemic happening, if the pandemic happened and I hadn't gotten sober, I'm convinced I would have been dead by now, because alcohol work going into the office at least regulated it to a certain extent. If I suddenly didn't have to and I was just home all day, I have no idea how much worse it would have gotten, but it would have gotten worse a lot quicker, and I was already health-wise in a terrible spot. So when I got sober, I had this. First of all, I didn't even realize I could get sober. I didn't know that was a thing I could do at that point. I thought that option was long gone. So when I got sober, there's a sense of euphoria. There's also, for me, a sense that if I drank again, it could kill me. My liver, I've done enough damage to my liver. I come out of this with cirrhosis. It's fortunately something that I can potentially maintain, but the idea is that if I drink again, it's potentially going to kill me. So in the back of my head, it was, I need to get treatment now. I've got one shot, and if I don't get fixed, who knows what's going to happen. And so, there's a couple programs in town, but they were filled up or just not the right environment for me. I wanted to do inpatient residential. I knew I needed intensive therapy. And so that didn't work out. There's also the Mayo Clinic has like a 30-day program that looked amazing. And I was getting all lined up for that. And so weeks were going by at this point. I'm out of the hospital, I'm trying to find a place. The Mayo Clinic looked promising, but insurance wouldn't cover that one. And then there's a program called Hazelden out in Minneapolis, supposedly a great program as well, residential. But because of my liver issues, they couldn't take me. And so again, we were like a week and a half into this. We're like, okay, you're all set. We'll give you a call. We just have to have the nurse check you out. And so they, talked to the nurse, and the nurse said, sorry, we can't take you. And she was, they were very apologetic. She was heartbroken that she knew because I'm also just like on the edge. Getting sober and staying sober was already making me super anxious. It was a challenging time. And so I just had one after another. The funny story with Maz is the one was like, hey, why don't you come to this meeting I go to on Friday nights?
Oh my gosh.
So I go, yeah, that sounds great. This is the first session, the meeting I go to. And I get there, I pull in, this is over at St. Genevieve, and everyone's standing outside, and they close the doors and they canceled AA. Yeah. And I'm like, you can cancel AA? I didn't even know you could do that. So, but because of the pandemic. Anyways, all of this, I just kept searching and searching. And the village has a program called First Step. And First Step is not residential, but it has an intensive inpatient treatment. So it's like 4 or 5 hours a day. And then you graduate into an intensive outpatient. And that's, along with AA, that's the one First Step is what I credit with my sobriety, with mental health. So when I talk about my thinking has changed and stuff, they knew that's the they practice right away. Because they knew that those were critical issues to solve. So yeah, that's where I ended up landing. I'm still in. Once you graduate from intensive, you have the option of going into relapse prevention, and that takes you out. They want to get you to that 1 year mark, and at the 1 year mark, they're like, chances are, once you've gotten here, your chances are much better than not. It's just a whole program that was super helpful from both mental, aspects and how do you do things, how do you implement things in your life to maintain sobriety. And they've been wonderful. First Step is, I keep trying to champion their name to anyone I talk to. So for me, the programs that work, I look at it as First Step is the program I needed to course correct. I needed to change how my brain worked because it wasn't working correctly. If I didn't do that, I would just be back at the starting point again at some point. And then I look at programs like AA, the continual meetings. That's a lifelong thing. And that's my need. And so I'm going to be going to AA or whatever program works for you. But it's meeting weekly. Having that community and that fellowship, that's, I think, the long-term, for me, it's how do you maintain that sobriety once you achieve it? Because I think we have too many examples of people who, if they get to the 1 year mark, I'm just shooting for that 1 year mark, that you get to the 1 year mark, and then you relapse as well. So yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
No, it's incredibly interesting. I mean, we kind of very, very peripherally went through it with you because of Maz and, you know, our friend having reached out. But I just remember thinking, my gosh, how can someone who wants to get and stay sober not find a place to get and stay sober? And it speaks to the tremendous need for probably more programs, and then the need for a diversity of programs, because if you have underlying health issues, then your needs are very different from someone like Maz who doesn't have any health issue. You know what I mean? So it just really speaks to not the desire of practitioners to be serving people, but the fact that we just don't have enough of it. And we need to continue to expand and grow the programs we do have.
Yeah, there's that handoffs that I would like to see addressed. So when I was in the ER, one of the things that stopped me from getting help was this notion of the shame. Like I would go in and they would be like, "You're the worst alcoholic case we've ever seen. We can't help you. Get out of here. Stop wasting our time." Like the idea that doctors and nurses would have this attitude, that was not a reality, but that was something that I truly believed, that you know, they would feel like I was wasting their time. And you did this to yourself. Anyways, so when I finally I had this health issue, it's called ascites, your stomach fills up with fluid, and I had trouble breathing. This is when I went into the hospital back in February. I had to go to the ER, and the people were wonderful. They were so understanding. It was just such a relief to have that care. I mean, they truly cared. That from the nursing staff, the doctors I talked to. This is over at Sanford. And so they stabilized me, and I was in the hospital for probably a week while my body was getting stabilized. And the doctors was, I met with one doctor who would come in every day and talk to me about ongoing health and the things I need to do. But then once you get discharged, it's done. There's no follow-up. There's nothing. And if the program that you're looking at getting into doesn't work out for whatever reason, you're on your own. And as an alcoholic, I was fortunate that I kept pushing forward. I could easily see someone going, "Nah, it's just easier to keep drinking." And at that point, you're back into it.
I don't think you would have. I mean, I was rabid about getting him a placement to the point where I think the social worker saw me coming and would sort of step into another room because there was no that I was willing to take. And, you know, it's weird as a spouse, you don't really have any control over this. So I was advocating for something that I really had no legal authority to advocate for, but I didn't exactly understand that, and I didn't care. But I don't think you would have just come home if you could have when you were discharged from the hospital. So again, Tristan, I commend you so much for advocating for yourself in this really difficult moment, because a week is not enough to cure the psychological damage and despair that you have been in. So you just figured out how to claw your way out of this, and it's so impressive. And we could not be more ecstatic to be talking to you today on this end of it.
Yeah, it's amazing to be here. I look back at the beginning of the year, and you know, towards the end, I had given up all hope, hopelessness, despair. I've used the phrase like I was literally living in my own hell, and I don't use that lightly. It's so hard to describe how mentally bad it was for me in that place I was at, and to go from there going, maybe I have days to live. Like here's an example I give, and this one's horrible, but I'll share it anyways. I would wake up in the morning after a night of drinking, and I would be angry that I woke up, that I didn't die in my sleep, and to wake up and sit up and go, I'm still here. What do I have to do? And that's just a terrible place to be. And to go from there to where I'm at now, when I finally do have that hope again, that, you know, hey, I'm living life. That's fantastic. That's the part that, you know, it's not like life is perfect. It's not like just getting sober means that's not the way it works. But just being able to live life again is absolutely amazing, absolutely phenomenal.
Well, this might be my favorite story to date because I have known you so long, and because your success just really touches me so deeply, Tristan, and your honesty and your bravery and your willingness to come on and talk about it is really, really remarkable. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. It was fantastic. It was fantastic to see you again.
Yeah.
I look forward. We should, well, there's a couple of weeks. It'd probably be safe to maybe get outside. It'd be nice to see you in person again, actually.
Yeah, as the winter has settled in, I didn't mind hanging out with people when it wasn't terribly cold out and you could sit out on the bench or something, or outside tables. But now
you might be able to do it yet this week.
Is it all right? Yeah.
Go for a walk or something. Yeah. It's pretty nice out still, but yes,
But once things settle down, that's my goal in life right now is take advantage of it. And you know, if people want to hang out, I say yes. I'm not doing that reclusive isolationist thing anymore.
Excellent.
Well, good. That means we'll see you as soon as we safely can then, Tristan.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Just incredible. Thank you, Tristan, and best of luck through the end of 2020 for every reason.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
We'll talk soon.
You
Thanks.
Take care. See you soon.
Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
All right. We need to take a picture because I'm terrible at this.
I wasn't sure if I should stay on that. I was like,
you did so great, Tristan.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm going to hop off because I think we might still be live. Sorry, everyone.
Oops.
Bye.